Alright, welcome back. Hope everyone's having a lovely day, a lovely night wherever you're from. And real quick, before we get started, as always, I want to give a lovely shout out to the channel members on this channel. So thank you so much to these lovely commanders here that you see on screen. Thank you guys so much for your guys' constant generosity and support to me as always. It really means a lot to me, so thank you guys so much. If you guys are actually interested in becoming a lovely commander yourself, if you are interested in any of these cute and lovely emotes, the loyalty crown badges, you want a special role in the Discord, make sure to join the Discord. But as always, if you choose to do so, thank you so much. Just remember, that's not the only way that you can support me. Just watching the content like you are right now is truly the best way. Liking, subscribing, and commenting, everything really does help. So thank you guys so much. And for today's video, I find it kind of interesting right now because typically right now I would be doing a testing video giving my thoughts on Mihara. But right now I kind of want to just give an overall discussion right now about Mihara, because right now the community is very divided right now. There is a lot of different issues, justified ones as well. So I kind of wanted to give my opinion. And you know, about opinions, everybody has one. So I guess I wanted to talk about it. So let me scoot over and let's talk. First off, as always, one more blatant thing that we need to talk about is the gacha skin, because a lot of people are wanting to see if they're going to fix it or not. And just as a heads up, we really don't know what their thoughts are right now, because they're not at their offices right now working. Because right now I believe Korea has a holiday right now, and they won't be on till I think Tuesday. So expect maybe some notifications then about all of this, but right now we really don't know what's going on. So just for now, just sit tight, and then we'll have to find out if Shift Up is going to fix some stuff with Mihara, fix the gacha skin. Right now that's all TBD, but that's the reason why right now it's been kind of quiet. Everything else they have right now on social media is just all automatic responses right now. But with everything going on right now, it did bring up a topic right now that the community is talking about, and that's the consistency with fan service and whether the gacha skins are a scam. First off, gacha skins are always a scam. Gacha games in general are a scam. They're out to get your money. That's the whole point of gacha games. Like, most of the time, you know, great story and stuff, but let's be real here, gacha games are a gambling game to try to get your money. But when it comes to gacha skins, especially in Nikke, 50 bucks is never worth it for a gacha skin. Let's just be real clear right now. I feel like these skins, at maximum, 25 to 30 bucks, and even then, that's still kind of pushing it. Because when you compare it to games where they have amazing wallpapers, and you just get it for the characters, like Brown Dust 2, or Azure Lane, where the skins are way cheaper for a lot more, is crazy. Obviously, Azure Lane's gameplay is kind of XD. There's not really any gameplay there, despite like this chibi auto battler. But with Nikke, there is some gameplay. At least I play Nikke, right? But that's not the point. But that is just one instance of the drama. The other drama also comes to the point with Mihara herself, which I find interesting. So to a lot of people right now, Mihara feels very underwhelming, and I feel like I understand why, but sometimes I also don't get it, because I feel like some people right now are not talking about one of the major parts about this update, because they're getting so many freebies and stuff, so they're kind of ignoring the problem. But Siren is a disgusting power creep. Obviously, power creep in gacha games are always going to be prominent, no matter what. It's always that. Either they go the fan service route, or they go the power creep route. In this case, it looks like right now, power creep is their main goal. And with Siren, it is very, very insane. I don't think a lot of you realize how bad this power creep was for Siren, because it's pretty disgusting. I mean, she's a great unit. Obviously, you want a really great unit. But at the same time, damn, that power creep was insane. And so when we get to Mihara, after you pull for her, you feel a little underwhelmed because, well, she's just not as good as Siren. But Siren was just probably the biggest power creep right now since Rappy, and we just barely got Rappy. So in terms of that, it's pretty tough right now to try to compete with that. Also, another instance of Mihara's kit just kind of unfortunate is that because of her nature of being sustained, when it comes to normal levels, if you're using another MG that's really good, let's say you're using Rappy or Modernia, Rappy has an option. She has her little AoE because of her little drill grenade thing that can clear any additional raptors outside of bossing. That's really, really good. Now, Modernia has her burst, which is just an AoE sweep. That's a big advantage for also being an MG user. Mihara doesn't really get that option. She's just a really good bossing unit. But now, the bossing unit is brought up in controversy because when you assume that you're getting a fire unit that's really, really good for bossing, outside of solo raid, you're thinking daily content or anomaly. And I've seen a lot of discussion on this because a lot of people are realizing that Mihara is not good against Indivilia because Indivilia counters Mihara. And this is the first time that we've really seen it because we've never had a good sustain unit. Mihara has such a good sustain buff because of her skill 2 that we can actually see a difference. However, Indivilia clears debuffs for herself. So you lose almost half of her damage alone because that sustain is gone. And Mihara's DPS drops immensely. And that's pretty important to talk about right now. Because there's one side saying, why are you going to release a unit when the daily endgame content does not work with that character? But then you can also say that it was never advertised that way whatsoever. They're just a fire unit and it just so happens that that daily boss counters them. Now, there are different sides to this. To me, it's a little too messy. This is a complete mess. So I really don't have an opinion. I'm just giving my thoughts. Outside of the power creep, which I feel strongly about, I don't really have an opinion about Mihara right now because it's so messy. But when we're talking about Indivilia, I feel like right now it's not a big deal that as much as people are talking about. It's unfortunate, of course it is, because you wanted to use this unit for Indivilia because maybe it would have helped a lot. But right now you can't because she actually counters her. And now there are 2 options that can happen right now. Maybe 3 actually. The first option that Shift Up can do is kind of rework how debuffs work in the game, because if you're going to release more units like this, then it's just going to counter more bosses that we get going forward if they have that type of clearing. But if they fix debuffs, there are characters like A2 or Mast where they have their own kind of debuff and it'll break their character, and knowing Shift Up, they're not going to account for that, so those characters are going to be broken until they fix them. So they can do that, or they don't even do more bosses with that type of debuffing, because if they don't do it anymore, then you really won't have to worry and Mihara can be really good to be used. But if they continue to do that, like I said, Mihara won't find usability. Or 3, they just really buff Mihara to try to counteract the debuff. One of those 2. So, or I guess one of those 3. But those are kind of the instances that I'm thinking about right now. And either way, they might not even do anything. Like, I'm kind of like iffy when it comes to Shift Up with stuff right now. So for me, I wouldn't be surprised if they just leave it be, but I do expect maybe them to change the wallpaper. I really don't know. It's a complete mess right now because a lot of the community feels a certain way, and to me, I can see both sides and it's all a mess. Outside of, you know, how I feel about the power creeping right now, which is a big reality right now. It's just unfortunate. It really is. But I mean, that's how the gacha games are. I mean, we're coming up to year 3. It was very expected that we would start seeing more and more power creep, but it's just unfortunate, you know? That being said, I did want to give my quick opinion when it came down to Mihara actually being used in neutral content. Now, I'm not going to be showing her with like raptures and stuff because once again, she is going to be losing a lot because she is not good against additional adds outside of bossing, which kind of changes how she works a little bit because even for tower, she's probably not going to be as recommended because she's not going to be doing as much, which is kind of unfortunate even more. But I do want to show you a quick neutral testing that I did before, just for the fun of it. And when we do this neutral testing, we're going to be going against Wind Weak, so we can actually get an idea of it. So technically Siren will have the advantage here, but I do want to do testing. And first off, I just want to say that I am bursting with Mihara. I don't know why people aren't bursting with her, because I get a lot more damage when she bursts. So when it comes down to this, we are going to be having Crown, Siren, Rappy bursting, and then we're going to have Mihara and Helm. Now, Helm's just going to be here for burst generation, really, but when it comes down to it, she is going to be in neutral content, so I just want to do a quick comparison in bossing and just go from there. So, as always, when it comes down to it, really quick, we're going to just cut to the end, see the results, and we'll talk about it because I know this video has been kind of long of just me yapping. So we finally got to the results, and it is going to be a little bit interesting because you can see that Mihara is lagging behind a little bit, but that's also because Rappy Red Hood in general is just an absolute machine. Let's not talk about our Burst 1 Siren, who is dealing so much damage. It's absolutely ridiculous. But you can see that there is a decent amount of comparison here. Rappy is doing really, really good, but Mihara is doing really well as well. But that's when she's going against bossing content where her sustain actually works. So maybe that's just one instance of this, but I believe that she's going to be a good unit for solo raid as long as debuff doesn't really work. Unfortunate that she doesn't really work well with tower because of ads or even main content. So it's interesting how they're going about it because they really try to push sustain, but at the same time, it doesn't really work that well, especially if she doesn't get some form of AoE sweep. So it's interesting how they go about it. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on all of this, you know, whether it's the drama, whether it's the character herself, whether it's the power creeping. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on everything, what your guys' thoughts are about what I said. As always, I like responding to you guys in the comments, but that's going to be it for me. So I hope you guys have a lovely day, a lovely night, wherever you're from. And as always, thank you so much for the constant support. Take care and have a good one.